pick apart the enemy team. It was very well done by them.
So Sky Temple, you said that sometimes we see a little bit in terms of a mix-up when it comes to some of the heroes. This is the only map I've really seen competitive Gazlo on in the last few months.
True.
I'm not expecting it because it kind of goes against a lot of the others, but it has been known to show up every now and then. So far, the ban, Illidan. And El Nexo, so far they've, if they haven't had a ban on the hammer, they've had a pick, first pick on a hammer, going to Falcon, 3 games for 3 that we've seen him here on stream. Will El Nexo rely on the fact that they can get it on their first pick, or are they just going to ban it out?
We're going to see. I mean, if TTP sees the opportunity to pick it up, I won't be surprised if that's exactly what they do with how effective it has been in the past. I mean, they have options here if they want to ban out. Though with Illidan being banned, banning an Uther or a Rhaegar isn't necessarily as potent, specifically the Rhaegar. Obviously, it's actually be a Diablo ban. Wow. They don't want to deal with that Apocalypse. They don't want to deal with that big frontline initiation that we saw that was so effective. And that's an interesting ban. It's a hero I don't normally see banned out, but I definitely can see where they're coming from with it.
TTB definitely did some work there with the Diablo, especially when it did come to the Apocalypses, because the Apocalypse pressure put the Uther really on toe. Lucifron, I want to say it was. Whoever the Uther was, every time there's an Apocalypse, he was sticking right by his Nazeebo, and every time that the Apocalypse went off, he cleansed out the stun, and the Ravenous continued on. So the Diablo didn't really end up being an anti-Nazeebo, so to speak, but it did put on that pressure that if we didn't have the cleanse ready to go, if the positioning was a little wonky, if they, any mistake would have shut down that Ravenous. So I didn't really think it would have been, ban-worthy in game number 2, but, El Nexo, they don't like playing with that pressure, and they wait it out, and they get their hammer first pick.
All right, and Hammer is a great hero on this map because once she gets entrenched in one of those temples, if she can preemptively get into position before the temple spawns and before the enemy team is able to react accordingly, then she can just sit there and bombard away freely, especially with that Stitches being picked up by El Nexo. So it gave him a lot of success last game. They're going to pick it up again. And again, that lends El Nexo to the strategy of more of that stand your ground composition, that slow siege with a strong front line. The Stitches really reinforces that, not only with a great front line, but now they have some good pick-off potential on top of it. So I like these first 2 picks. It's very well-rounded. A lot of strengths on between those 2 heroes. They bring a lot to the table. It's going to be interesting to see if they go full out with the hook pick-off sort of composition, picking up a Tyrande or a Jaina. Though TTB picking themselves up a great healing support in Uther, and looking like they need a frontline warrior. That's the only thing missing out of this yet, but they still have a lot of potential for other heroes being picked up.
Chen has definitely been a big frontliner. Diablo's out, Stitches is already taken. We could actually start seeing some of the other warriors now that have been floating around. Tyrael's, if you have seen a Tyrael in the last few weeks of matches, especially on the NA side of things, it has been really much more on Sky Temple, believe it or not. So, shield builds, you go for sharing the plenty. At level 13, you get Imposing Will, which is just an earlier version of the Imposing Presence. It's a very specialized version, but you could get it much earlier with that kind of pickup. But if you do take like a Tyrael for a tank, you have to have a second tank because he's just not going to be that frontline material that you're looking for.
With Tyrael losing cast aside, that really he lost his effectiveness, which is quite unfortunate because he was such a great hero. But we might see a resurgence of it, man, especially when you start whittling away at the warrior pool, as you mentioned. Chen, though, is such a great hero, a flagship hero, iconic hero of El Nexo, and a hero that is threatening, but not threatening enough to be first picked or first banned by a good majority of teams. The threat is always there of it being picked up, and that's definitely TTB knows that there's a high potential of that Chen being picked up, and he's such a disruptive hero. He's hard to gank in the early game. He's got good lane presence, and it's a like I said, I'm a believer in the Chen now, man. I was very, very skeptical about it, but after seeing Temple Storm run it on my side of the ocean, and also seeing it being played here today, I'm a big fan of it. There is the rest of El Nexo's lineup, a Malfurion, followed up by an ETC. So they have a great front line, phenomenal sustained backline hero, healer, and the Malfurion as well.
You also got the Qatar solos to heal themselves there from the ETC. You got the Devour there for the Stitches. This might be a one healer comp, and this might really end up just being a Protect the Hammer. It really kind of curious what El Nexo will go with that last pick, but I'm not really leaning towards the support. Depends, I guess, on what TTB wants to pick up here, because they're still looking for that warrior. They do got Nazeebo once more, so the Nazeebo will go their way, whereas we don't have the Diablo pressure this time. It will be hooks and power slides and concussive blasts, but with good positioning, you should be able to defeat that. And we are going to set up for the Wombo again. TTB with the Zeratul pickup. We still need that warrior. And I mean, Chen is clearly going to be in the forefront of our minds, but you know, Anuba Rax are coming to mind for a little bit more of a disruption comp. Mirrodins with the stuns as well. Yeah. They could really break it open anyway here.
I feel like looking at how the draft has taken shape so far, Mirrodin would be pretty good because it's going to allow them to get into the backline and disrupt that Sergeant Hammer. Though if he dives a little bit too much, that could spell disaster for him. And that's something they got to take into consideration. It is going to be that Shen. So they're going to deny the Chen from El Nexo, though El Nexo clearly showing that they had no intention in picking up the Chen. What I actually would really like from El Nexo is either a Jaina, I think would be pretty damn good, or a Tyrande, because that would complement the Stitches and the ETC so very well.
Yep.
And give a big burst damage boost. It would give them not only a very strong backline, good sustain in the team fights, just with how they've drafted so far, but then also give them burst potential on top of it. Just, again, a very well-rounded draft that can do everything really well. Kind of the, you know, just just utilitarian of a draft. So they can do a little bit of everything with it, and I absolutely love it.
Maybe chat can weigh in on this one, but I mean, this is now almost what three or four games that we haven't seen Tassadar.
You're right. That is true.
I mean, there's still a last pick here, but your arguments for Tyrande is actually really swaying here. You know, with the Hunter's Mark, it brings another healing ward for the double tanks. That, I mean, it's almost like a dead set ringer in my eyes here. But yeah. Tassadar is still on there. Rhaegar is still on there if they do want to pick up, you know, more support oriented. I want to see them go a bit more damage or another bruiser. You know, Sonya, Tassadar could definitely fit very well into this as well because, the Tassadar would bring another healing ward. The CC chain would continue on with the Sonya, but I mean, you just do not see Sonyas anymore. I mean, we tried at the beginning of the meta, but more often than not, she just kind of went down and lost. So El Nexo, they got a little bit of time left here, 20 seconds on the clock to figure out what their last pick here is, but I am tending to agree more towards a Tyrande or a Tassadar.
Another hero that would be good, I feel, is a Zagara as well. That would be another great backline hero that can complement that slow push, the slow siege with the Sergeant Hammer. That would really facilitate their lineup very well. And here it is. Okay, so there it is. There's the first Tassadar of the tournament. You called it, Sean. So that's going to grant them a lot of vision, grant a lot of vision for Stitches to be landing them hooks, go a fishing, and hopefully grab himself a big fish or maybe even a panda, depending on what it lands on. So there's your finalized drafts, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be getting into game 2 between El Nexo and TTB, otherwise known as Team Tomorrow Big. And they're going to see if they can keep themselves on top, as El Nexo is up 1-0. Last game was a very even game that went back and forth, but the superior late-game decision-making from El Nexo was really what won them out in the last match. This is Sky Temple, though. Definitely a different map, a different game, and it's going to be interesting to see if TTB has what it takes to bring this to a game 3.
And as I said, you know, Team Tomorrow Big, they're definitely dreaming big. This is a cash money, you know, cup, and the cup itself does go over the course of about a month or so. March 12 or 17 to April 12. It's about 4 cups, and it's actually a really good time here to talk about exactly how this is going to work. So the top 2 placements, whoever gets to finals, moves on to the big monthly qualifier, so to speak, or the winning tournament.
Yeah.
Monthly qualifier is probably not the right terminology, but it's the right idea. We're going to have 4 cups. Top 2 from each get into this 8-team bracket, where then we start deciding who goes home with some of that cash. $3,000 in cash and prizes to be split between the top 3 of those 8. And, you know, more information about that will definitely be coming down the line. You guys should also be at heroes.gosucup.com, making sure that you're up to date on all of that. Because as well, I mean, these are tournaments open to anybody. You don't have to be a sponsored team. You don't even have to be a team. Just go find your 5 friends. Come on in. Enjoy yourself some Heroes of the Storm beta. Enjoy a competitive atmosphere. Use such great tools like Heroes Draft. Get yourself casted. You could become the next... I don't really have any names. The next Murlocs Inc. The Happy Fairy Dragons, Evil Geniuses. I mean, these were all teams that started out and then they got picked up and they just kept plugging away at it. So you want to get some experience? Join the Cup. No fee. You have nothing to lose. Maybe a few hours of your time. You could go home with some cash by the end of 4 weeks. It's a really good atmosphere.
So just waiting for these teams to ready up. Just waiting on the Chen player, which I believe is Lucerfron indeed.
Yeah, 8 out of 10 ready to go. So until they are ready, we will just stay here and talk a little bit more about heroes. So Tassadar, I love my Tassadar. He fits into the comp extremely well. In terms of this, I mean, we got the front line of not only the Stitches, but the ETC, both of them with the self-heals. We got the Healing Ward to come out from Tassadar, plus the Archon, another great frontline bruiser. And, we got Roots, we got Stuns, we got Hooks, maybe Gorges. We have seen Gorges rather than Biles. El Nexo has a very tanky lineup. And when I first played Sky Temple back at BlizzCon, that definitely felt like the way you should be building your team for Sky Temple.
Yeah, it's the map really precipitates that sort of strategy, that sort of team fight. And I remember when the map first came out, everyone was like, "Oh no, it's too snowbally. It's a Black Hearts Bay all over again." And now teams are actually liking picking that map. In North America, a lot of teams adore that map, and we see it played quite often. And I'm glad to see it being played here as well. I think it was interesting to see how they play with it, though. A little bit different style coming out from these teams.
Last Sunday, I believe, we were doing some casting with a second group, and the second group said that they had 4 games in a row, Sky Temple. And they were all best of ones. It was just like Sky Temple, Sky Temple, Sky Temple, Sky Temple. That's all they had. That was their entire casting cadre for the Sunday. It was just lots of Sky Temple. In some of the amateur leagues that I like to help out with and participate in, Dragonshire is absolutely huge, but it has been predominantly Cursed Hollow when it comes to like a first pick competitive map. And already today, now we're seeing Sky Temple, we've seen Dragonshire, we've seen Cursed Hollow, and we've seen Garden of Terror. I mean, it's a good representation of the match. If we actually did get into the Barrel Boys first round, that was a Black Hearts Bay. I mean, the map selection here is definitely one of the key features that define Heroes of the Storm, and we're absolutely thrilled to see such representation here through a lot of tournaments.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are loading in to the map. Once again, this is Game 2 between El Nexo and Team Tomorrow Big, looking to get themselves continue their fight in the tournament for the Gosu Cup. And they are on the ropes right now. If they get taken out here, they are outsies. So they're going to be fighting their heart out, trying to keep themselves in the match, in the series, more specifically in the tournament. There it is, loaded up on the left side of your map. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him as El Nexo, the players. Lucerfron playing ETC, Falcon again, taking up the role of Sergeant Hammer. Vortex on the Tassadar. He's not a Protoss player. Black Scorp on the Stitches, and Grant playing the Malfurion.
We are blessed.
And they are up 1-0 over this this relatively, I don't want to call them an unknown team, but it's definitely, they're new to me. Their play has been phenomenal so far. They need to clench a win though. Splendor, Killiam, Ethernal, Schwimpy, great name, and Breeze, they will be making up Team Tomorrow Big. It was a very requested match from Twitch chat, so clearly there's some favorites out there in the eyes of the viewers, and we're going to have to see who will take it. Will it be a 2-0? Will it be a 1-1? The pacing here a little bit different than that of the Cursed Hollow, but still it can be absolutely devastating on the back of a great team fight into a double temple spawn.
A lot of emphasis on this middle lane, and with that Sergeant Hammer, I'm going to see where they want to go. Last time we saw this map, they did this. They put priority into the top lane. Or sorry, not the last time we saw this map, but last time we saw these teams, they put priority into the top lane on Cursed Hollow. We talked about how that was a little interesting of a change, but they recognize that the push is going to go unpunished. And right now, it looks like that Team Tomorrow Big definitely recognizes they don't want to deal with that big early game push again. That was pretty much put them on the back foot last match. And they're responding appropriately, throwing up a Vala and a Witch Doctor. And this looks like the top lane is going to be a little bit of a stalemate so far.
I thought you were going to say Team Total Biscuit for a minute there.
I almost said Team Total Biscuit.
Oh, I know you do well, though, Shane. Yeah. So the party lane will be out top. As I said, I mean, you have to put up this kind of big response. Otherwise, Falcon is just going to absolutely destroy your buildings if you go a little bit more unimpeded with that early game siege tank. Once more, you do see Zerato actually roaming. He's against his Protoss brethren, but does once more have that regen master, which is why you don't see him roaming, which is why you see him cemented in that lane. The Chen there as well. We got some Conjurers across the board for our supports as well. And the Scion Fusion comes out for Tassadar. So I've always been curious. This is a discussion I've had many times. Scion Fusion versus Conjurers, and why would you take that over Conjurers?
I'm not sure. I mean, it leads me to believe that he's going to go with a more aggressive Psionic Storm build, Shrink Rate level 13, double Psionic Storm at level 16. That's really going to help him sustain out. That's the only reason I could imagine why he would pick that talent up over the Conjurer's Pursuit. But level 4 is here for both teams. The first temple phase, and El Nexo definitely going to put more priority into the middle shrine. The middle shrine does do a little bit more effective damage on the more important structures. It takes down the towers and does damage to this tower right here in the mid lane, as opposed to the top shrine, which does damage to a fountain rather than a tower. So that's why you sometimes see a little bit more emphasis on the mid tower than you do on the top one. A lot of skirmishing, a lot of poke and soak. Neither team's really fully committing to a team fight, though.
No, they're just trying to get as many shots as they can very safely. I mean, we don't have a warrior up here. It is only that Chen into the bottom lane. We got double warrior hype ready to go for El Nexo. And you look at that, the hook, the roots. It's going to be bringing Eternal down to half, but the return with that zombie wall was so good. Sergeant Hammer in the front line. That's not where she wants to be. And she is going to be the first blood of this match. We still had the tower now shooting out here for red, but it looks like the last shots might actually be taken out by El Nexo. And yeah, they do grab those last shots. Vortex rotating up. He's going to cut off that back line, and Vala will be the resulting kill. But both of the 5 shots, but the money shots, are going to go the way of El Nexo. In terms of experience, I mean, the bottom lanes didn't go anywhere. Zeratul did not leave out the mid. You see as a bit of an advantage for TTB.
So while they did lose out on experience, El Nexo lost out on experience, they gained ground as far as the map objectives go, with pressuring down the mid lane. Mid fort is very susceptible, as well as that tower is susceptible going down. And of course, top, they were able to get a good chunk of the damage done. Even though they lost the Sergeant Hammer early on to that fight, they knew that the damage that was done trying to pick off the hammer was enough to where they could do a 2v3 for a little bit. Vortex with a smart rotation able to secure a kill on Vala and basically make it a even exchange. And now they initially were down on experience. Now they are once again even it up and slightly ahead. And okay, this is interesting. We're seeing a Mule out of Tassadar. Now, Mule is very good on this map. It helps in mitigating a lot. It mitigates a lot of the damage from the temples. But as we were talking about earlier, Sean, we were expecting to see a DPS build coming out of them. And static charge is a big thing to give up in exchange for this Mule. It's a big DPS loss. And that's going to make me a little bit perplexed as to what he ultimately is going to go at level 13 and 16.
Mule has really fallen off because it did get nerfed in the last patch. It only is out here for 40 seconds instead of 60. And you can't stack them anymore. Not that you really should have been stacking them anyways, but you know, between those nerfs and some of the rise of a lot of these other talents, some other changes as well, this is really the only map you will see a Mule. So if you do absolutely need a Mule, this is the map that typically the teams will be favoring out. So I'm always about 50-50 when I go into this. Will we see that Mule? Will we not? And picking up the Tasker with the Mule, you know, that just means that Malfurion can get the Enduring Drug. Yes, they sacrifice damage, but they keep their healing pretty much prime.
So yeah, he set himself up for a level 13 life seed, and that's just a huge amount of sustain. Free heals for everyone. It worked out well last time for him. We'll see if it works out for him once again. Level 10 is here for TTB. Chen getting the second shrine in the bottom lane, which was due to be picked up at any point in time. Both of these guys picking up the Bruiser camps, a little bit of a stalemate between the two. And we're seeing Rain of Vengeance come out from the Vala again. I like that decision. ETC can interrupt the strafe very, very easily. So don't want to have the more reliable one. That's going to be the Rain of Vengeance. And any good Void Person is going to be followed up by a Ravenous Spirit and a Rain Vengeance. And if the Void Prisoners are anything like last game, they have the potential of just blowing people up. Good wombo combo.
Oh, the kick into the barrel, that's going to be putting Falcon really into this corner. Him and Blacksword. Here comes that Ravenous now as well. Big damage. The ETC is going to come in with that stage dive, and now Splendor and Killiam now stuck in the corner as well. Blackscorp there in the back is really going to be cutting off a lot of that, and the tanky nature of the El Nexo team means that they are likely to drop this next kill because Breezy gets hooked. That's going to be a 4-man wipe only for that hammer. It was a great initiation on top of the hammer, but the Blackscorp just did absolute big work because he went for the bile. The Putrid Bio came out. I mean, that green carpet cut off so much escape, took out so much damage. There was no Gorge, but just the control that we had in that map. I mean, the stage dive with the slow, the Putrid Bio with the slow, Vortex out there with the Archon doing the splash damage. Doesn't matter that they lost Falcon. They got 4 kills the rest of that temple, and now a boss on it.
Yeah, they had to put too much into the Falcon to take him down because they did get Falcon taken out of that fight, but the amount of resources they had to put into that one kill was just too much. And the turnaround from El Nexo showing its strength right there. The double warrior composition showing its strength. Able to pick up the mayor of Throw City. The boss is going to be doing work in this bottom lane. He's going to get tier 1 tower. He'll do a little bit of damage to this fountain and the keep. Nothing too substantial though. Looking at the status of El Nexo's structures, the power of the mule, how are we looking? The mid is looking pretty healthy. Top lane, the fort is looking pretty healthy. Bottom lane, the fort is about half HP though. The longer they go without pushing into these lanes and taking out these objectives outright is going to allow Tassadar, who is not a Terran, but he has mule nonetheless. Good lord, can you imagine Protoss with mules in StarCraft? That'd be great. Is going to use those as much as possible to heal up those forts and again mitigate the damage that has been done. Level 13 is here for El Nexo, and we're going to see the welding beam coming out from the Tassadar.
We are
And
blessed.
really? The static? Wow, distortion beam.
Yeah.
All right, no shrink ray. I guess they're just saying, well, there's no real big target to shrink ray. Can you actually even shrink ray a barrel? That would be very interesting to see. Little mini barrel pushing people around. So, I mean, if there's no target, yeah, sure. All right, so Vortex goes for the slows. That's going to combo nicely with the Archon. And again, it's looking at a bit more of a control comp here.
Yes.
I want to say from El Nexo. They can really take a beating. They don't go down super quick at all. And even on the back of a Void Prison, I mean, there's still really nobody squish unless it's going to be that Malfurion, unless it's going to be the Hammer. And the Hammer, I mean, she's not compensating at all. She's just going straight damage as she needs to. But look at Malfurion. Level 13, he says, I know I'm a big target and a big liability.
Yep.
I'm going to get an Ice Block to defeat any kind of potential wombo combos.
And that really plays into the strategy that El Nexo has been doing, is just surviving the big initiation, the barrel, the Ravenous Spirit, the Void Prison. And the moment all those are used, as long as they didn't take too much damage, they can just turn around with great sustain coming out of them. A good hook onto Thermal, but he is going to put his Nikes on, sprint right on out of there, and get away to safety. Now, looking at the build from Tassadar, it's actually, I think it's a pretty interesting build if he goes the Diablo Sonic Storm at level 16. Yes, he doesn't have the static link. He didn't go with Shrink Ray, but the reason he goes Shrink Ray sometimes with the double Psionic Storm is it gives you a slow to put 2 blanket Psionic Storms and you take full damage from 2 storms. Well, obviously with Distortion Beam, kind of provides that utility as well. And not only does that, but also provides the utility of doing a snare onto heroes in team fights. So we're going to see what Vortex goes to level 16. I'm feeling more than likely it is going to be the double Psionic Storm, as I feel like the race car build, if you're going to go the race car build, you're going to get the other dimensional shift talent at level 13.
There we go. Mule's now going to be down. It's not going to be enough to save this fort, I don't think. But no, we're actually going to put up the pressure here into the mid. Nah, the money shot came out anyways. So the Mule came down to pretty much the exact right time. It's going to start healing its way to victory for that fort. And, you know, the more buildings that survive, it doesn't really give you as big as an impact. Let's say El Nexo loses a big team fight right there on the back of 2 temples. I mean, if you still have your forts, you still got your walls still ripping ready to go, well, it's not going to hit nearly as hard because you are protecting those keeps with that hit point. So yeah, he lost out on the damage, but the Mule is just going to be paying it back in full. Keeps it up with high ammo as well. Schwimpy now just going to try to poke a little bit at it. A little bit of a strange decision for him because of this big push from El Nexo top. It is the second strike. And, you know, this goes back to the level 1 discussion of the Scion Fusion. You get 7 mana hit for each target hit. You then cast a free second storm, and that also returns you mana as well. So, you know, the mana issues are not really going to be too prevalent here from Vortex, and that's why it brought up that entire discussion initially anyway.
So now we're hitting the stage where the temple phases can get a little bit hectic, a little bit more random. They do have an initial algorithm that they follow, but once we hit the late game mark, they can just all of a sudden go all over the place. They can be polar, they can be the single one bottom lane, and occasionally you see the hat trick with all 3 of them spawning, though that's usually a hyper late game situation, and that always creates some really interesting situations, some cat and mouse chases.
Shame.
One team keeps bouncing between the 2.
We got Pignus on top of Lucifron. He's a big target right here. 5 mana pressure. It does not matter that you got the stage dive. You're going to just get destroyed. And that ragdoll position is amazing. So yeah, Nexo was down here. They were looking in the party bush. They were looking for the ganks. They didn't get them. In fact, it's going to be flipped. Lucifron is now going to be down for 30 seconds, but there's only 1 temple left. You know, he's going to be able to stage dive immediately to that temple if he needs to. So it's not the end of the world for Nexo. It was a good gank from TTB.
And yeah, the next temple phase coming up here, just the single one in the top lane. Both these teams have level 16 talents. once again, this is a similar situation to we saw, except it was the other way around, where TTB was the one ahead about maybe a level, half a level, and then El Nexo ended up pulling it out in the late game. TTB definitely has been performing pretty well. Given the circumstances that they are in, they've been doing all right. They're maintaining a level, even level. They're down a little bit of experience, but nothing that's insurmountable. And all they need is one good Void Prison. One of those Void Prisons they got last game, and that can swing this game right into their favor.
Falcon has Stone Skin, so once more just going towards the mentality of don't instant die.
Yep.
To the Void Prison, to the Wombo combo. That's going to be a little bit more tank ability there for the tank. It's not going to be Hover Siege, not going to be Graduating, or God forbid any of those other ones. But it will be the Stone Skin. So a very tanky team once more to be here from El Nexo. And we're dancing on these points, but nobody is willing to commit yet.
Just looking for a good hook. There's a hook on his Zeratul, but he obviously has Blink at his disposal. Just a lot of poke trying to get the temples. This temple keeps going back and forth and back and forth. It is neutral yellow.
Doesn't
Mr.
fire
Probably
when it's neutral yellow, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. This looks like a little bit of a knife fight going on right now. Little Sharks versus the Jets action, West Side story.
What are they waiting for Void? No, it's up. All heroics
Yeah.
are up. We're just playing the poke game, I guess. I mean, we got the specialized toxin now ticking around. The multi-shots have been coming out. The Psy Storms here from Vortex. Schwimpy's going to find Black Scorp there. He's going to get actually a little bit too low for comfort on that hit. Oh, hook. That's already used the blink. Schwimpy already used the blink. He gets 3 men in that Void Prison, but here comes the green carpet, and Black Scorp saying, no, you're not getting out of this one. Grand's actually going to get forced out of the fight there with his Tranquility as well. The team from El Nexo is split, but it's 2 deaths here for TTB. There goes Eternal to make the hat trick. Splendor not looking so good. He will get a heal off to himself, but that is a fishing hook from the Scorp, and Breeze is the only survivor on the back of that one. That Eternal catch broke the camel's back on that.
Black Scorp channeling his inner Dendi and bringing out the hooks to win that team fight. That was the pivotal moment that they were looking for. They're just playing the delay game and just, all right, let's just keep throwing hooks. It's eventually going to stick on something. That's exactly what happened. Now they are about a level up, going to get themselves a 14-minute boss. Bottom lane is already susceptible. The tier 2 towers are exposed, which will then expose the keep as well. With level 20 on the horizon for El Nexo, they are looking real good. Once again, late game is where they thrive in the first match, and it looks like that's where they're going to be thriving in this match right here.
To get themselves boss, they're going to paint this entire map blue. They got the boss, the easies, they're going for the other easies here. The 4-man Stone Bro Quartet is going to be marching down that bottom lane. We got bruisers up, we got enemy bruisers up, and there's no temples to be spawned for at least another 60 seconds. This could really put the pain on top of TTB, because when they come out of all of these mercs, they'll be 19, but El Nexo will be 20.
Yeah, especially because El Nexo was rotating and picking up TTB's bruiser camps. That's going to just force responses all over the map from TTB, and it's going to have to just constrict them and asphyxiate them to inside of their base, which is not a position you want to be in this map, Sean. Because when those temples pop and you are inside of your base and you still have to deal with cleaning up mercenary camps, cleaning up with waves being pushed in, and dealing with your structure slowly going down, it's just it's a snowball effect, and it compounds and compounds and compounds. And El Nexo are just in a good position right here. They definitely are on top and throwing some blows. They just got to get that one knockout blow they're looking for. With level 20, it looks like that's going to be their go time.
So bottom fort, even after all these temples, is more or less like 8/10 hit points.
Blessed.
Middle here, there we go, another mule. That's what I was looking for here from Grant. He throws it down, and even if somehow El Nexo, who's waiting to cap these bruisers, by the way, is going to lose this next level 20 fight, they still have 2 forts for these temples to choose from. That is a good amount of padding to prevent some bigger keep damage. It would have to come down to a big hero push to grab that keep damage. And El Nexo, again, they're looking strong. 20 at late game, a full level ahead, 16 minutes in. They do have those talents, but they're not interested in fighting. In fact, I think they're going to try to force a defensive maneuver here from TTB.
Interesting to see. Yep, that's exactly what they're doing. TTP, hit your B buttons, bro. Are they going to defend? Are they not? They're running back. I don't know why they're not just hearthing instead. This is taking much longer. Maybe they're looking to outflank. They were looking. Yeah, okay. So the Vala showed, which forced a retreat out of El Nexo, and it looks like they wanted to flank instead of getting all in the backlines behind the gate. So an interesting maneuver, but both of these temples are being taken with a level 20 advantage. ETC actually going with the Rock God, the improved stage dive ability level 20, which is further going to improve his global presence that he has. There's initiation from Breeze. Falcon is getting knocked around, shoved all over the place. There's the ETC initiation though. Falcon is still healthy though. So many heroics have been used from TTB and no one has gone down. The sustained composition from El Nexo is just doing so much work here. A Divine Storm, but Relentless is going to negate that. Thoroughly, Shen get taken out. He has nothing left to contribute to the fight. He is ultimately going to go down. Splendor is getting slowed by the laser beam of Vortex. Down he goes 2-4-0. The top keep is down. The Witch Doctor is scrambling to get himself back inside of his base. It looks like El Nexo is going to be taking this match as they cruise their way. Oh my lord, Black Scorp. Dendy, 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 what can you do? GG well played for El Nexo. They are going to move on to the semifinals of this tournament.
A nice 2-0, very well played. They got, I mean, who cares about the tempos if you can just go right for a core? The tanky lineup from El Nexo, they did not look like they were in danger at all of losing any of those team fights. They come out ahead with the level 20 fight at the end of it all, and their late game sense is just absolutely phenomenal. Congratulations to them. And as we clean up the pieces here, webcam, we will be going into I believe a semifinal match after this one.